I'm here with Alexander Mercouris, editor-in-chief of the Duran. Alexander, where is Professor Joseph Mifsud? There are reports, mainly coming out of Sarah Carter, that she has been in contact with Italian publications, which are saying that Professor Mifsud is presumed dead by authorities in Italy, by prosecutors in Agrigento, Sicily, to be more precise. But we have a late night Friday tweet via George Papadopoulos. We remember him. And it reads like this, Alexander, and I quote, Lil, L-I-L, Joey Mifsud is not sleeping with the fishes. More to come. Alexander, take it away.
Well, that means all very interesting, all very, mysterious and wheels within wheels. The first big question is, where is Joseph Mifsud? Now, he was interviewed by the FBI in apparently February 2017, and he was he also gave in, I think it was October 2017, an interview with the Daily Telegraph, and we've heard nothing or seen nothing from him since then. The interview.
Well, can I correct you? I'm not the Daily Telegraph, Alexander, but if I could just do one quick correction from Sarah Carter's article, the last anyone has heard from Mifsud was spring 2018. So that's the last time anyone's heard from him. Anyone.
Okay. It's very strange, because Joseph Mifsud is ultimately the person around whom the whole crossfire hurricane thing is built around. Now, let's remember who this man is. He's this mysterious professor. He holds all these important academic positions in universities in Italy, a university in Scotland. He's running this mysterious London Diplomatic Academy in London, which apparently does nothing, and nobody's really had any contact with, but it had very swanky premises and staff, expensive staff, even though it didn't seem to do anything. And at the same time, he seems to have been extremely well connected. He's been seen with important British officials, including apparently Boris Johnson, who is now our Prime Minister. And he had some kind of connection with the Clinton Foundation and with the Hillary Clinton people. And he managed somehow to wangle invitations to the Valdai conference, which is a sort of big, get together in Russia, which the Russian Foreign Ministry sponsors. But his academic background is very thin. We don't really know very much about him. He seems to be something of a man of mystery. And what we do know about him is that at some point in 2016, he befriended George Papadopoulos, who was this young Trump aide who was in London, and got to know Papadopoulos quite well, and had this meeting with Papadopoulos in April 2016, in which supposedly he told Papadopoulos that the Russians had dirt on Hillary Clinton, emails of Hillary Clinton's, and this was supposedly repeated by George Papadopoulos to Alexander Downer, the Australian High Commissioner, in the Kensington Wine Rooms, a wine bar in London, which I have visited, by the way. And this was then passed on by the Australian government to the FBI, and the FBI then seized on this as the reason on 31st July 2016, shortly after the WikiLeaks started publishing the DNC emails. Anyway, the FBI decided on the strength of this information to start Crossfire Hurricane. So, if you're to believe this story, Joseph Mifsud is this absolutely key person who is at the base of it all. And as I said, the FBI interviewed him once, and there's been these sporadic contacts with him since. I mean, one very brief and frankly very uninformative interview with the Daily Telegraph, and pretty much nothing else apart from this one contact in the spring of 2018. Now, I've been wondering a lot about who this man is. I've even on a previous video questioned whether perhaps Mifsud is even his real name. He doesn't, I accept, by the way, that he probably is now, but it does seem to me that all of his various activities point very much to someone who has some kind of intelligence background, and that some kind of cover story has been created for him. There's been a great deal of speculation that he's actually somebody who works for some Western intelligence agency. And I have to say, the fact that he was in London, operating from London in this very open fashion, but with this diplomatic academy, which didn't do anything, to my mind, points to that. And we've recently heard rumors that he's been hiding in Rome, possibly the protection of the Italian special agencies, and that Bill Barr, the Attorney General of the United States, and John Durham, the US attorney who is now investigating the origins of RussiaGate, we know for a fact that they went to Rome. They didn't meet Mifsud there, but they apparently heard a recording of a taped deposition, supposedly provided by Mifsud. Now, Mifsud is apparently also the target of other criminal investigations being conducted against him in Italy, about which, I don't pretend to know very much. But it seems that these theories that he is dead originate with the Italian investigators who are conducting these investigations. It suggests that they haven't been able to track him down either. Now, I have to say, I do find this extremely strange, that a man so important, who's played such a vast role in starting RussiaGate, cannot apparently be found by the FBI, by the CIA, by US intelligence, by Italian prosecutors, by the Italian police, by the international media, who you would assume were looking out for him, that he has managed to vanish off the surface of the earth. It seems most extraordinary. I cannot believe that he is being hit, that he's really successfully, privately hiding somewhere. The possibility that he's dead has to be a real one. The Italian prosecutors seem to think so. If he's not dead, and George Papadopoulos thinks he's still alive, then he's clearly being protected and hidden by someone. I mean, that seems to me obvious.
Italian authorities, according to the Sarah Carter article, and I'll put a link for that article in the description box down below, according to Sarah Carter, and the publication that ran the original article from where Sarah Carter is basing much of her investigative work, which is Il Giornal's English blog site called Inside Over. They say that it's about an 80% chance, 80% confident that Mifsud is dead. That's according to the Italian authorities. Now, Alexander, let's break this down a little bit here. In the summer of 2010, in April of 2010, Mifsud was appointed the president at a university consortium in Sicily, in the Agrigento region in Sicily. And everyone was excited to appoint him as this president of this consortium of universities. And over the years, it appears, like you said, Mifsud was getting a little handsy with the expenses. He was up to some funny business with the finances of the university. And so now they're going after Mifsud. They're all distancing themselves from Mifsud. The authorities are going after him. Everyone is saying that this guy, and I quote, was a charlatan and a fraudster. It's quite astonishing, actually, when you read this article. And he's gone missing, but he sent 2 recordings to publications in Italy as well. But those publications took them to an expert, a voice expert, who said they're completely fake. Completely fake, these recordings. So I'm trying to understand. The publications were Antocronos and Il Correo de la Sera. And they took them to experts and they said, this is not Mifsud, these recordings. But we have this claim from Rome that someone saw him hanging out in Rome. Let me find you that last part of this claim where Mifsud has been spotted in Rome recently. Here we go. At this point, assuming that the handwriting expert is actually right, as we believe, the question must be asked. Why would someone have made a fake audio message? There are 2 possibilities. Either the Maltese lecturer is still in hiding, who knows where, or in the worst case scenario, we are talking about a person who is possibly no longer alive. The last person who saw him in Rome told Panorama that, quote, Joe has a nice apartment in Palyed. I last saw him there. It was March 2018, the source explained. That Joseph Mifsud disappeared in 2017, I read in the newspapers. I saw him again for the last time in Palyed, close to Piazza Euclide, where Joe had a nice apartment. This is absurd.
I mean, but bear in mind again. I mean, this is now the last sighting, and of course we don't know whether it's a confirmed sighting or not. But a last sighting that's now almost 2 years old. Anyway, the whole thing is very strange. Fake tapes. Apparently, a real tape provided by Barr and Durham of a deposition by Mifsud. Provided by whom, one might ask? We don't know. I mean, by the way, Barr has been interviewed. He's done several interviews recently. He's, in his usual extremely careful way, he's admitted to this trip to Rome with Durham. And that is an extraordinary thing, by the way. I mean, why couldn't the tape simply be sent to him in Washington? Why did Barr, who is the Attorney General of the United States, go all the way to Rome? This is very strange if you think about it. I can just about understand why Durham, who is the investigator, would go to Rome, but Barr going to Rome, the Attorney General of the United States, suggests something very serious. And it suggests to me also that he must have been meeting someone there, apparently not Mifsud himself, but there must have been some very high-level meetings going on in Rome, which was so important that they concerned William Barr himself. There's something very odd going on about this. But apparently a mysterious taped deposition provided by whom? And even Barr and Durham couldn't meet Mifsud, apparently. I mean, Barr has essentially admitted, in fact, he has admitted, I've seen him doing it, that he didn't actually meet Mifsud there, and Durham didn't meet Mifsud either. So what has become of this man? It is extremely strange. And again, we have this connection with the Sicilian University. What did he actually do there? What was he actually doing apart from, helping himself to the expenses? What was he actually doing at this university? As I said, it does look to me as if whoever Mifsud is, I don't buy the theory, by the way, that he was merely a charlatan. He might have been, but it seems to me that somebody who's able to, meet all these important people, have all of these different contacts, operate in this kind of way, is somebody who's operating a cover story, behind a cover story. Some, famous, some important professor, but he's not really an academic. It looks to me that he's some kind of intelligence agent, hanging around, meeting important people, playing the role that he seems to have been playing, and obviously helped to do so. I mean, all these important universities. I mean, I should say, my wife is an academic, so I know a little bit about how academic posts are filled. Academic posts are not easy. They don't come easily, especially in Britain, but I assume also in Italy. And Mifsud had an academic post at a Scottish university, so he must have had references. He must have had backing to get these posts, and these there would have been background checks. Somebody must have been vouching for him. Who was this person? Was it the same person that William Barr, or group of people that William Barr was meeting with in Rome? And who were they?
Would it be safe to say, Alexander, that Mifsud was Western intelligence? And I'll read you another quote from Sarah Carter's article, which confirms via John Solomon that most likely Mifsud was Western intelligence.
Yeah.
I'll read you that excerpt in a little bit. But would it be safe to say that Mifsud was most likely Western intelligence? He was dormant in Italy, playing the part of this president at this university consortium, and then he got activated for the purposes of the Hillary Clinton campaign, the DNC, and this crossfire hurricane, investigation that Comey, Brennan, and Clapper concocted. And I say that because let me just read you this excerpt via Sarah Carter, and then you can close out the video on this. If anyone has answers into what really happened with the FBI's investigations, it would be him. It was allegedly Mifsud's tip-off about the Russians having Clinton's emails that was the beginning of the investigation. The former FBI official stated that it was when Papadopoulos discussed what he had been told by Mifsud with Australian Ambassador Alexander Downer that the counterintelligence investigation began. The Bureau agents claimed it was the pretext to opening the Crossfire Hurricane investigation into the campaign on July 2016. But now we know different, that there is enough information surfacing to suspect that Mifsud did not have ties to Russia, but was a Western intelligence asset, as suggested by his attorney, Stephen Rowe, in an article written by John Solomon.
Well, it seems to be much more likely that he was a Western asset. In fact, I can't really see how he could have been a Russian asset, because if he was a Russian asset, surely all of these various people that he was in touch with in the West would have figured that out. Now, how does a Russian asset get an academic post at, I think it was the University of Stirling? I mean, the British authorities do keep an eye on people like this. Scottish universities are extremely rigorous, in my experience, in the way in which they recruit staff. They don't just take on anybody. I don't believe he was a charlatan, because he would have had to have some kind of academic backstory to be able to convincingly take on a academic post if he was not connected to the intelligence world in some way. And we do know that the Western intelligence agencies do plant intelligence officials in universities. We've had one famous example in RussiaGate, which is Stefan Halper, the professor in Cambridge, who the FBI and the CIA routinely use as an informant, and who was playing a role as an informant in touch with George Papadopoulos as well as Mifsud. So they do this, and this is what it looks like to me. I should say, by the way, that when I was at university back in the early 80s, I came across somebody who everybody knew was, an intelligence asset. So this is not unusual, and it's very common in the operation of Western intelligence agencies. I don't believe that the Russians are able to engineer the appointment of one of their assets at a place like the University of Stirling. It just doesn't make any kind of sense to me. So that clearly points to Mifsud being a Western asset. His lawyer says he was a Western asset. And I would point out something even more interesting about Mifsud, which is this connection to Rome. And all sorts of things seem to have been going on in Rome. I mean, Rome was the place where Christopher Steele had his big meeting with the FBI in October 2016. Why Rome? It's never been explained. We've never had an explanation of why it was Rome. George Papadopoulos, in one of his interviews with, I think it was Mark Stein, said that there is a big a spy school in Rome. You know, that seems to be an obvious connection. But it does seem as if Rome is the center of all sorts of unexplained things. And was Mifsud, it was this swanky apartment that Mifsud has in Rome, does that connect him with this spy school in some way? It seems to me possibly. I'm going to say what I think about Mifsud. I think that instead of being a Russian asset tasked with infiltrating the West, I think he was a Western asset tasked with infiltrating Russia. He was given all these important academic positions, and he was then sent off. He was able to leverage these academic posts to wangle invitations to the Valdai conference, which would have put him close to people, in proximity to people like Putin and Lavrov and all those sort of people, and to try to build up contacts there. That seems to me the most plausible explanation of what Mifsud was all about. Notice he didn't have any actual positions in Russia, but he was able to get invitations to go there. And that seems to me what this construction of this backstory for Mifsud was ultimately all about. And then it seems to me that it makes complete sense that he was then sort of turned round when he was needed with all these contacts to try to sort of draw Papadopoulos into some kind of connection to the Russians. Only, in fact, perhaps the Russians were suspicious of him, or perhaps he wasn't a particularly skilled spy, but it turned out that his actual contacts in Russia weren't very good, and that he wasn't able really to set Papadopoulos up in any really important meetings with anybody of any true importance in Russia. But that it seems to me is the most plausible explanation of the Mifsud story. That, as I said, he was a Western asset with an academic backstory constructed for him in order to try and infiltrate Russia and get close to Russian policymakers. And then, as I said, when RussiaGate started, or when they wanted to start RussiaGate, or however it was done, as I said, he was moved about to try and get in touch with Papadopoulos and to try to draw him in. That seems to me the most plausible explanation based on the very limited facts that we now have. But, you know, where is this man? Has he really disappeared? I can't believe that he has. Who is protecting him? Who did he provide this sworn deposition to that Barr and Durham have heard? Why is Durham apparently unable to speak to him directly? And who was Barr and Durham talking to when they went to Rome? And what's been going on in Rome? Lots of unanswered questions. We will see. And is he really dead? Possibly. And it's very, very striking of Papadopoulos to talk about him feeding the fish.
I wonder if we'll ever find out what's happened to Mifsud.
Well,
and on the Papadopoulos thing, real quick, Alexander, don't forget that Papadopoulos' wife, I think, was working under Mifsud, and that's how he met her. I may be wrong, but I know that his wife was a co-worker or working for Mifsud at one of these universities. So maybe Papadopoulos has some sort of access to something, some information.
Well, he does. Because can I just say something about that? I'm sure, and by the way, Papadopoulos does have access to information. One of the things I must say about Papadopoulos, and this is I've stated my regret and apologies about him before, because initially I thought he was a sort of a young man who'd been taken for a ride and got himself drunk and dizzy with success and all that. And on the contrary, I now realize that he was a very shrewd person who worked out very quickly what was going on and never put a foot wrong. That comes out, by the way, also in the Horowitz report. I mean, Horowitz says that Papadopoulos was repeatedly telling people there are no illicit connections between the Trump campaign and Russia. That's what he was always saying to whoever was contacting him. So far from bragging, he was doing the opposite. So, let's be very clear about this. Papadopoulos was a very shrewd person. He met Mifsud. He knows the sort of person Mifsud is. I mean, we are speculating about somebody we know nothing about because we've never met him. I mean, we don't know him personally as a human being. Papadopoulos knows about Mifsud as a human being. And of course, he's met with people, possibly his wife. I mean, I don't remember that. I think you're right, by the way. I think she was working for Mifsud. But he knows people who've worked with Mifsud and know him well. So he probably does have information about Mifsud. And I think he may be right that Mifsud isn't feeding the fish. If he is dead, where's his body? Where's his grave? Maybe if he is dead, he is feeding the fish. Italy, by the way, is the kind of place where that tends to happen. I mean, it's not unheard of for mafiosos to dispose of their enemies in all kinds of interesting ways. But having said that,
I'll say something outside of that, but related to that. This is the kind of thing that tends to happen when you're associated with the DNC and the Clintons. So let's, preface it with that. More so than Italy, I would say it's more of a Clinton thing.
Well, indeed. But as I said, there we go. So maybe he's feeding the fish. I don't know, but it does seem, the whole thing does seem very remarkable. I'm going to say something else, actually, before we finish this, which is that the fact that Barr and Durham went to Rome and listened to a taped deposition of Mifsud, as opposed to meeting with Mifsud, is perhaps the strongest possible reason to think that he is dead. I'm not saying he is dead, but if you think about it, is it really plausible that the government of the United States, which is what Barr and Durham represent, could not meet with Mifsud if they really wanted to? I mean, would any Western intelligence agency, and I'm pretty sure that Mifsud's connections are with Western intelligence agencies, really be able to hide someone like Mifsud from someone like Barr and Durham? So the fact that Barr and Durham are only able to hear Mifsud's words in a tape may suggest he is dead. And before I actually completely finish off, can I say that one of the biggest misrepresentations about the Horowitz report is that Horowitz supposedly has denied that Mifsud is a Western asset. All that Horowitz has said is that Mifsud's name does not appear on the FBI's list of informants. Does not mean that Mifsud is not or was not a Western intelligence asset. He could have been a CIA informant or agent, or he could have been a British informant or agent, or he could have been an Italian informant or agent, or he could have been the informant or agent of any number of other intelligence agencies. It is what lawyers call a non sequitur. It does not follow that because he's not on the list of FBI informants, he is not an agent of a Western power.
And before I sign off, Alexander, maybe that tape, if Mifsud is dead, if, we don't know, maybe that tape was his insurance policy.
Indeed, quite so.
All right. Alexander Mercouris, editor-in-chief of the Duran. Thank you very much. Guys, click on that subscribe button. Look for us on iTunes and on Soundcloud. Download the Telegram app. Subscribe to our channel there. The DuranShop.com, 20% off all merchandise. And before I pass it off to you, Alexander, also BitChute.com, where we post videos, and DuranVideo.com, where we post videos, and PayPal, Patreon, Subscribestar. Please donate to us and help this channel out.
Indeed, and also help this channel out by going to our shop, buying these magnificent items of merchandise that we sell there, these phenomenally wonderful magic mugs that you see, like the one I'm holding now. Alex has got he's also there. I think he's drinking. There we are. He's drinking. I don't probably coffee, because Alex is a coffee drinker. I'm a tea drinker. Somebody actually said that we're tea and coffee. I actually love that phrase, tea and coffee. That's exactly what we are. But as I drink tea from mine, in this case, English breakfast tea. So there we go. And amazing magic mugs, beautiful to hold, porcelain, 15 ounces. This mug has been in my possession for roughly a year now. As you can see, it is as good as new. In fact, it is literally as good as new. I mean, I cannot tell the difference. There's been absolutely no sign of wear anywhere on it. It's not chipped. It's not broken. None of my magic mugs, and I use them all the time, is chipped or broken or discolored in any way, despite pretty heavy use. I mean, I drink tea almost continuously. The coat of arms of the city of Moscow that you see there looks absolutely pristine. It's perfect in every way. You get lots of other magic mugs, by the way, in our shop, with all kinds of other emblems and coats of arms. I think Alex's magic mug has the coat of arms of the Russian Federation, if he can show it to us. Yes, that's what it is. That's the double-headed eagle that you will find on Vladimir Putin's magic mugs. As I said, I tend to drink tea from mine, but I've drunk coffee and beer, and once champagne. And Ian, if you're listening to this, I will also be drinking gin from it, a gin and tonic on Christmas Day. But, I will, and I look forward very much to that, and all will be revealed about that rather mysterious explanation very soon, after Christmas Day, when I've done it. But anyway, we don't just sell magic mugs. We sell all sorts of other things. We sell amazing shirts, like the one I'm wearing at the moment, which is a short sleeve t-shirt, 100% cotton, with our own Duran double-headed eagle there. We also have long sleeve t-shirts. We have polo shirts, absolutely amazing, stylish polo shirts. All of mine are now just ironed and cleaned and packed away in my suitcase, waiting to be taken to the Alps, where my wife and I are going skiing with our dogs. So amazing polo shirts, amazing t-shirts, 100% cotton, all beautifully made or incredibly comfortable to wear. You can also buy those from our shop. You can buy hoodies, you can buy stickers, you can buy hats, you can buy wonderful things, amazing things for Christmas, for the new year, for your friends, for yourself, for your family. You can buy them as gifts now or at any time you wish. DRN20, as Alex has reminded us, is the discount code. So what are you waiting for? Go to our shop, buy these wonderful things for yourself, for your family, for your friends. Help the Duran. DRN20. I would remind you once more, Alex will tell you how to do it.
Just use the code at checkout at theduranshop.com. Alexander Mercouris, editor-in-chief of the Duran. Thank you very much. Until next time, everybody, take care.